What's up, guys? This is Kephas.
Dungeons are the heart of World of Warcraft's PvE experience. They're where we cut our teeth on new expansions, learn our buttons, forget our interrupts, and wipe to bosses with one shot next week. Whether you're here for the story, the loot, or just to pad your DPS on trash mobs like a true meter monkey, dungeons are part of the lifeblood of WoW. So today we're ranking every WoW expansion based on how fun the dungeons are. Not how difficult they are, not how much Mythic Plus made them suffer, not how many guides you had to read just to survive the second boss, just were they fun to play, were they memorable, did they respect your time, or did they trap you in Grim Batol for 45 minutes of sorrow and regret? So let's get into it. This is every WoW expansion ranked by dungeon design. And yes, Siege of New Zao Temple is still trash. You can tell a lot about Shadowlands by how the dungeons felt, like someone gamified a Rubik's Cube and forgot to include joy. Visually, they were stunning. Spires of Ascension, gorgeous. Theater of Pain, absolute metal. But the moment you started actually playing them, it was like getting into a sports car and the wheels just fall off. Everything was mechanical, timing based, and twitchy. Trash was overtuned, bosses were designed by someone who thinks fun is Latin for dodge 17 circles while doing geometry. And the tone was off. It felt like they were designed for tournament play, not actual humans trying to unwind after work. Sure, they were cinematic, but like most Oscar bait, I'd rather not watch them twice. Let's be honest, Shadowlands isn't going to be winning any Oscars anyways. On paper, BFA had great dungeon variety. Pirates, witches, trolls, you name it. Waycrest Manor alone had more vibes than an entire Netflix horror series. But then you stepped inside and realized that BFA dungeons flowed about as well as a YouTube apology video. Everything felt just a little off. Some layouts were confusing, others were claustrophobic. The mechanics, they were there, loud and proud. Often designed to punish pugs like they owed Blizzard money. They weren't all bad. Freehold was a drunken brawl in the best way, but overall, too many weird gimmicks and not enough flow. I was actually looking forward to the BFA time walking event until it started and I suddenly remembered, oh yeah, this is Battle for Azeroth. Ah yes, Cataclysm, otherwise known as the Great Pug Purge of 2010. You weren't playing these dungeons so much as you were passing a trial by fire where your group wiped once, the tank rage quit, and the healer logged off mid-pool because suddenly their dog needed to go for a walk. They weren't bad dungeons technically. Grim Batol, Halls of Origination, even Vortex Pinnacle were visually rich and mechanically dense. But Cata dungeons made one fatal mistake. They assumed you had 5 people who cared. If you were in a pre-made, it was tense at times but satisfying. If you weren't, enjoy spending 40 minutes requeuing because someone couldn't handle Ozruk saying, "Break yourself, break yourself. Break yourselves upon my body." We did. Many times. Vanilla dungeons are iconic. Deadmines, Scarlet Monastery, Strathholm, Blackrock Depths. These places weren't just dungeons, they were adventures. Epic, sprawling, multi-hour gauntlets with side rooms and secret bosses. They were some of the most atmospheric content WoW ever produced. But boy were they long. Like, call your family and tell them you love them long. That's why I give credit to most of the reworks that came later. Blizzard trimmed the fat, broke up multi-hour crawls into digestible wings, and made some fights actually function. Suddenly, BRD wasn't a hostage situation, it was an actual dungeon. You do lose some of the magic and novelty with the streamlining, but you also lose the pain, and honestly, that's a trade worth making in my book. Warlords of Drraanor dungeons are the definition of you could have been great. Kind of like the expansion itself. Shadowmoon Burial Grounds had the vibes, Grimrail Depot was a high-speed murder train, and then you had Everbloom, aka let's see how much trash we can skip before somebody screws up and aggroes the entire instance. All of the dungeons looked amazing, played well, and had tight pacing. The problem was there were only 8. Blizzard just didn't support dungeons after launch. I guess Blizzard just kind of forgot about the Iron Docks, probably because they were too busy putting everyone in the garrison and praying we didn't notice there was no content. Still, the dungeons themselves were punchy, replayable, and mostly painless. They weren't groundbreaking, but they were the least of WoD's problems. If the expansion around them hadn't collapsed like a house of cards, we might be talking about them very differently today. Dragonflight's dungeons are nice. I know, damning with faint praise, but honestly, that's exactly what they are. They're cleanly designed, well-paced, and rarely frustrating. A few stood out to me, like Knockhood Offensive and Azure Vault, but most of them kind of blend together, like different shades of aggressive mediocrity. Kind of pretty, but not very memorable. Still, they're great for leveling, easy to rerun, and they rarely overstay their welcome. Kind of like the comfort food of dungeon design. You're not going to write love poems about Brackenhide Hollow, but you're also not going to rage quit over it. And in today's WoW, that's a win. But in my book, The War Within is an even bigger win when it comes to dungeons. I don't know, maybe I'm the only person that thinks this. I really don't know how other people feel about War Within's dungeons, but I really like them. I've ran more dungeons in The War Within than I probably have since Mop or Legion. None of them feel like filler, none feel like you need a PhD to understand. They're varied, intuitive, and quick once you learn them. Okay, except for Dawnbreaker. It was a real mess, especially at launch. Having to fly around during boss fights, trying not to get lost in the big open zone, I get why so many people hate it. But once you have it figured out, it actually becomes one of the easiest dungeons to run in the whole expansion. Now, Cinderbrew Meadery and Darkflame Cleft have become two of my all-time favorites. There's personality here, there's pace, and most importantly, there's fun. Legion is where Blizzard got bold. Court of Stars had social puzzles, Vault of the Wardens had Illidan's voice in your ear, Blackrook Hold was basically Castlevania in MMO form. The dungeons were dripping with lore, mechanically rich, and full of personality. And yeah, they could get repetitive over time. I mean, most dungeons do when you run them long enough. But these dungeons were built with care and confidence. Karazhan, being implemented post-launch, was a masterpiece of remixing old content into a tight, hilarious, terrifying romp. Legion gave us some of the most creative dungeon designs the game has ever seen, and only a small group of expansions resonate with me more. Legion did an amazing job at integrating story directly into dungeon design, but in my opinion, Wrath did it better. Every dungeon was part of the world's narrative. Utgard Keep, Azjol Nerub, Halls of Reflection, they were tight, focused, and atmospheric. And yes, they were easy, but guess what? That helped. So many more players were reaching in-game, and so much of in-game was designed around running dungeons repeatedly, so the smooth pacing made that bearable, even enjoyable. Except for Oculus, may it rest in pieces, Wrath's dungeons respected your time, taught you the expansion's story, and rewarded you for showing up. And yes, I know, me saying that just made all the people that still like to use the term Wrath babies really upset. Okay, so confession time. We're almost at number 1 and I realized something. I forgot Burning Crusade. I literally skipped over one of the most important expansions when it comes to dungeons. The expansion that gave us heroic dungeons and instance hubs like a clown. Now, why would I forget something that important? Because it's so foundational. It's practically invisible, like air, or loading screens, or rogues that stealth. You just take it for granted. So yeah, it's number 2. There are 2 number 2s. I'm putting it on the same level as Wrath, not just because it deserves it, but also because I completely forgot it and I'm a dumbass. Anyway, Burning Crusade. These dungeons slapped. They had tight design, brutal pulls, memorable bosses, and layouts that actually made sense. We didn't just get dungeons, we had dungeon hubs. Hellfire Citadel, your intro to Welcome to Outland, Now Die. Auchindoun, 4 different flavors of pain and 1 horrifying bird. Tempest Keep, gleaming alien corridors with robot security systems set to kill on sight. And then there's Magister's Terrace, the epilogue dungeon. The place kind of felt like a mini raid. Gorgeous, dangerous, and welcome back Kephas. Yes, heroic mode was brutal, and yes, sometimes groups wiped on the second trash pool and disbanded because the tank aggroed the wrong mob and the healer's keyboard caught fire. But you remembered those dungeons because they mattered. TBC didn't just raise the bar, it built the bar, installed it into the ground, and told you to pull every mob around it. It's the reason modern dungeon design exists. So yeah, I forgot it, but only because it taught me everything I know. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm gonna get crucified for this. I know. Putting Mists of Pandaria at number 1 is kind of a hot take, and it's probably gonna earn me some downvotes, but please, hear me out. I know there are probably other expansions that deserve this slot. I know that the Musou Gauntlet is terrible. Ukyu and the Duker was never funny, but I still love these dungeons. Mobs dungeons are just fun to me. They may not be the most epic, they're certainly not the most punishing, they're definitely not over-designed, they're just fun. They're fast, they're beautiful, they're replayable, they feel good to move through, they look amazing, and they strike that perfect balance between style and substance. Temple of the Jade Serpent, elegant and tranquil. Stormstout Brewery, chaotic in all the right ways. Shadowpan Monastery, it's a kung fu movie disguised as a dungeon. Even Siege of Musou Temple, widely considered the weakest, only really stumbled because of one drawn-out gauntlet section. During MOP Remix, I ran these dungeons constantly, like daily, on repeat for the whole duration, and I never got sick of them. They're just satisfying. You go in, do cool stuff, hear some vaguely mystical flute music, and leave with loot. What more do you want? They don't waste your time, they don't punish you for not being a spreadsheet goblin, they just work. They're the perfect balance of accessible and engaging, and in a game that's often about grinding, that's gold. So yeah, maybe they didn't redefine the genre, maybe they're not dripping in narrative drama or mechanic complexity, but they're the dungeons I'd choose to run again and again and again. So that's it, 10 or 11 expansions, all wildly different approaches to dungeons, some overcomplicated, some underappreciated, some just there, but all of them in one way or another shaped how we experience the world of Warcraft through teamwork, trash mobs, and tactical screw-ups. Let me know how you'd rank them. Maybe you're a Tol Dagor apologist, maybe you love Spires of Ascension, maybe you've blocked out the Oculus entirely. Most of us have. But as always, whether you agree with me or not, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.